Hello everyone, this is one of Katharine's Creatures, a series where I get to talk a little bit about and touch base upon various mythological creatures, beast beings, and the like, pulled from lore worldwide. And I always like to preface by saying that I am not a linguist, so if I mispronounce anything along the way, I apologize in advance. And today I kind of wanted to talk about this kind of entity, creature, being of sorts that comes from Irish folklore, with a catch. Now, this is the Dullahan or Dullachan, those are the more popular names for it. There are a couple other smaller regional ones. And essentially this creature, entity, legendary being is depicted as one of two things. Either a headless rider riding upon some kind of black horse or stallion, or a coachman, again, headless and maybe even holding his head under the crook of his arm as he is riding the coach in areas, but particularly in and close to and around grave sites. So for me, it's very interesting because the etymology of the name, instead of implying that this is some kind of spirit kind of entity, it's the name is used almost as a replacement for the hobgoblin. And a hobgoblin is a category term for a variety of creatures or being-like entities that are more akin to fae folk. But again, this being Irish folklore, maybe there's a connection there, or one that's a little more obvious than I perceive it to be. But the Dullahan, also known as Dullachan, also going back to the etymology of the name, there's a old word that is dor or dur, which meant anger, and durak or durach, again, don't know if I'm pronouncing that even closely correctly, but translates to malicious or fierce. So again, something that we don't really want to deal with. But the Dullahan, again, is this being that is renowned now and has inspired a lot of stories and tales and reiterations, but it and among itself can't really be traced back in any reliable source to old lore. So it may sound like a creature from old folklore, but there is nothing at the moment that truly links it with the Irish or oral tradition. So it may be a more modern entity that has come about and just captivated the population to the point where it is now almost iconic in certain areas. Now, going back to this headless horseman, one writer about it was Thomas Crofton Roker, and kind of made this entity, this being, famous. And in his writings, he said this headless horseman or this headless coachman was often seen coming either to or from Castle Hyde. And so it gave it a very specific area. Now, other people kind of link it to just being close to graveyards and grave sites, and you can see this apparition essentially riding out of gravestones itself, especially in graveyards where some kind of wicked aristocrat was buried. So there's a link there. Now, the poet Yeats was saying that and described it every time. Actually, two things. Let me before I get to Yeats, when it comes to the terms and descriptions of a coachman, a lot of people say he is silent, so you can't even hear it. It is this, again, this for me almost a phantom-like presence, the silent image of this carriage led by this headless person, and it is totally silent. Now, the poet Yeats, when describing this carriage phenomenon, said it's actually not silent, it's the total opposite. It's you can't hear because the sound of the carriage is so loud, it's almost deafening. So very different interpretations of this phantasm, this hobgoblin, this entity that may or may not be from original old school Irish lore. Anywho, that's all I have today on this particular being, but there are a lot of headless horsemen and headless rider throughout Europe. So if you're interested in this one or any of the others, check them out. They're really cool. If you have any questions for me about this or anything else, post them in the comments below or reach out to me on any of my social media. And until next time, everyone, Skål.